Okay, this is video number 2 for the right triangle review for the test that you're going to have next week. So we're going to go on with my review here. Video number 1 covered these problems right here. Again, the review worksheet will be uploaded onto Google Classroom along with these videos. So the geometric mean is done. Now, if you look at this problem here, let me scroll in a little closer so we can see it a little bit better. There we go. All right, notice that this triangle, it's a right triangle. Of course, they're all right triangles right now. Has a 30-degree angle. And one of the lessons that I gave you an assignment on this week was called special right triangles. Let me switch over to document camera. Okay. So this is a right triangle and it has this 30-degree angle, and that makes it a special right triangle because there's a special formula that goes with it. In my video, there were 2 special right triangles. There's a 45, 45, 90. Notice none of those numbers are 30. And there is 30, 60, 90. There's a 30. So if you have a 30-degree angle and a 90-degree angle, then your other angle would be 60 degrees. So this right here is a 30, 60, 90-degree triangle. Now, on my video about this, I talked about it being important to label the legs correctly, the legs and the hypotenuse. Well, the hypotenuse is always across from the right angle. And then we have a long leg and a short leg. Now the 30-degree angle is 30 is smaller than 60. So opposite the 30 is the smaller leg, the short leg. And then the third side is the long leg. Okay, and then we have the 2 formulas that we need to use. Well, here, 30-degree angle away from that is called the short leg. The hypotenuse is always across, the right angle always points to the hypotenuse. So this is the hypotenuse. That makes this the long leg. So our short leg has a variable, our hypotenuse has a variable, our long leg has a number. So we're going to go with that formula. So the long leg formula equals the short leg times radical 3. Our long leg in this case is 6. So 6 equals, and then our short leg is x times radical 3. So I just use the formula. Long leg is 6 equals short leg is x times radical 3. There we go. We need to get x alone. So the opposite of timesing by radical 3 is dividing by radical 3. Okay, so when I solve this, or when I cancel those out and I get just x alone, I'm going to write x first. I like writing x first. I like the variable to be first. We have 6 over radical 3, and the trick that Mrs. Cortez and I taught you was you have to multiply the radical 3 on top and bottom, but what you're really doing is just writing the radical on the top and making it whole on the bottom. And then anything that can be reduced, you want to reduce. So 6 radical 3, or 6 over 3, since those are both whole numbers, they can reduce. 3 goes into itself once, and 3 goes into 6 twice. So our answer for x is 2 radical 3. And that would be x. Now to find y is the hypotenuse. So we use the hypotenuse formula. Hypotenuse equals short leg times 2. Well, since x is our short leg, this is 2 radical 3. And when we times it by 2, we get y, being the hypotenuse, equals our short leg times 2. So 2 radical 3 times 2, y equals, well, 2 and 2 you multiply, you get 4, and then the radical 3 just kind of hangs out. So number 6, if you notice the angle for number 6 has a 45 degree in the corner, 90. So that matches with 45, 45, 90 triangle. Okay, there's two formulas. We have the leg equals the leg. There's two equal angles, so we're going to have two equal legs. The hypotenuse is always the biggest side. And then, so the hypotenuse equals leg times radical 2. Whatever your leg is, attach your radical 2 to it. That's basically it. So here, since we know that the leg is 7, this is a leg. Oops. Leg. This is the hypotenuse. This is a leg. And the legs are equal. So x equals 7. The hypotenuse, y equals, it's the leg. So in this case, 7. I could put x, but then x is 7. So you might as well just put 7. So 7 and then radical 2. And we're done with that problem because we can't multiply 7 and radical 2. It's a whole number and a radical. They don't mix. So they get written next to each other. We found x and y really quick. Okay. So number 7 here, I have a 30-degree angle. So remember, away from the 30-degree angle is the short leg. I put SH, so I want to spell out all of the word. Y is the hypotenuse because the right angle points to it. So that's hypotenuse. Since that's hypotenuse and that's short leg, that means this is the long leg. Okay, so since our number is on the short leg, we could start with any formula that has a short leg. So we could find the hypotenuse first, short leg times 2, or you find the long leg, short leg times radical 3. It doesn't matter. So I like the hypotenuse formula. It's easier. So the hypotenuse is y equals our short leg, which is 8 radical 3 times 2. Okay, so hypotenuse being y equals our short leg being across from the 30, 8 radical 3 times 2. And since 8 and 2 are both whole numbers, we can multiply them. So y equals 16 radical 3. As for x is on the long side. So the long side equals the short side times radical 3. So we have that 8 radical 3 again. So x being the long side, let me just down a little bit. There we go. So x being the long side equals the short side. The short side is 8 radical 3 times a radical 3. Well, radicals can be multiplied to each other. If this was radical 3 and this was radical 2, we could multiply it. If this was radical 5 and this was radical 3, we could multiply it. So we can multiply radicals together, which we get 8, and then 3 times 3 is 9. But the square root of 9 is 3. So x equals 8 times 3, which is 24. And now we found x. Okay. So now, next problem. Move this out a little bit more. Number 8. Notice there's a 45 in the angle and a 90. So that means this has to be 45. It's 45, 45, 90 triangle. Legs are equal. X and Y are equal. We just don't know what they are. So we have to figure out what one of them is. So we can't really use this formula right now because they're both variables. So we have to use hypotenuse equals leg times radical 2. Hypotenuse is 12. This is the hypotenuse. The right angle. This is leg. And this is leg. Okay. Hypotenuse is 12 equals our leg. Pick a leg. It doesn't matter. Times radical 2. Got to solve for x. So the opposite of times is divide. Okay, so x equals, we have 12 divided by radical 2. The shortcut is you move the radical upstairs, make it whole downstairs, and then reduce. 12 divided by 2 is 6, so 6 radical 2. So x equals 6 radical 2, and y equals 6 radical 2. And the reason why they both equal 6 radical 2 is because leg equals leg. So if x is a leg and y is a leg, they're equal to each other. Okay, number 9. Here we have a 60-degree angle in the corner. And if that's a 60-degree angle in the corner, that means the other corner, and this is 90, this corner would have to have 30. So away from the 30-degree angle is our short leg. The hypotenuse is always pointed to by the right angle, and that means this side is the long side. Okay, so our number is on the hypotenuse. So I'm going to use my hypotenuse formula, and it's 30, 60, 90 triangle. So 30, 60, 90 triangle, hypotenuse equals short leg times 2. Hypotenuse is 12 radical 2 equals, our short leg is x times radical 2. Got to solve for x. And this one is actually really easy. You'll see just a sec. We got x equals, notice a radical and a radical. We can reduce radical with a radical. So radical 2 reduced by radical 2, well, radical 2 goes into radical 2 one time. So they basically cancel each other out because they're the same radical. It's like having 2 over 2, or 3 over 3, or 4 over 4. It just happens to be radical 2 over 2, or radical 2. Radical 2 over radical 2. They can cancel each other out. So what's left is 12. So there's x. And now y, for y is right here on the long leg. So we use the long leg formula. Back to my formulas. Long leg formula is short leg, long leg equals short leg times radical 3. Okay, long leg is y equals short leg, which it says x here, but I know that x equals 12. So instead of using the variable x, I'm going to use 12 times radical 3. So y equals 12 radical 3. And there we go. We're done with that problem. And then number 10. Notice that's 30 in the corner. 30, and that's 90. So that's a 30, 60, 90 triangle. So we're going to use the same rules. 30, remember, opposite of 30 is our short leg. Opposite of 90 is our hypotenuse, which means the third side is the long leg. So our number is on the long side. So we're going to use the long leg formula first. So long equals short times radical 3. Long is 9 equals our short times radical 3. If you end up with an equation with 2 variables, then you did something wrong. Maybe you used the wrong formula and you might want to switch to the other formula. Or you forgot to plug in a number for a variable. Okay, so we have to solve for x. So we divide by radical 3. So that means x equals 9 divided by radical 3. The radical moves upstairs, becomes whole downstairs. And since it's whole downstairs, it can only reduce with the whole number. 9 divided by 3. So we get 3 radical 3. There's that. I could put it here either also, because when we do the next part, we'll need to know what x is, and we already found x, so this just helps me remember that I have to plug that number in for x. So next we need to find the hypotenuse, which means we use the hypotenuse formula, equals short leg times 2. You want to make sure to have these formulas, maybe the pictures drawn with the sides labeled for the formulas, so that for the test next week, so that you have it ready and you don't have to watch the video for it and use up that valuable time. All right, hypotenuse is y equals short leg. Well, it's x, but I know x is 3 radical 3. So I'm going to say 3 radical 3 times 2. 2 is a whole number, so it multiplies by the whole number. So y equals 6 radical 2 here. And there we go. Okay, so that's part 2 of the video. I'm going to go ahead and stop the video now, so I was just looking ahead. I think one more video would be enough to finish this up. So, one more video, and then you'll have all the review solved, and print it out, write it out, solve the problem, show the work, write down the formulas, whatever you do. Just it won't help if you have to watch all the videos the same day as you take the test, because remember, it's a time test. So you want to make sure to have maybe the review printed out or written on a piece of paper or something somehow. And you need to have the rules and the formulas written out on a piece of paper so that you have them available and when to use them. So this will help you on the test. You want to do as good as you can. There will be one more test. It'll be the last test. So this is your second to last test. Okay, so this video is done, and I'm going to go on to a third video.